Encouragement is a quiet miracle. It's not flashy, it doesn't go viral, and it rarely makes headlines, but its effects are profound and lasting. In a single word, encouragement can lift the spirit, awaken courage, and reroute the entire course of a person's day or even life. It is the act of breathing hope into someone else's lungs, especially when their breath is shallow and their energy is fading, and it only takes a moment. At its heart, encouragement means to give courage. The etymology of the word reveals this truth. To encourage is to put heart into. Unlike flattery, which is shallow and self-serving, encouragement is anchored in authenticity. It's not about boosting someone's ego, but about grounding them in their dignity and strength. It does not inflate, it restores. And most powerfully, it often arrives just in time, when doubt is loud, hope is dim, and fear is tightening its grip. Encouragement isn't a performance or a grand gesture. Sometimes it's just one word, one sentence, one look of understanding. Sometimes that's all it takes to keep someone from quitting, from collapsing, from believing the lie that they don't matter. Scientific research supports this as more than just a feel-good idea. Encouragement has measurable effects on the brain. It releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter linked to reward, motivation, and joy. When someone receives a sincere word of encouragement, the brain literally lights up in ways similar to winning a prize or hearing good news. It quiets the amygdala, reducing fear, and activates the prefrontal cortex, allowing for greater reasoning and resilience. Encouragement doesn't just feel good. It strengthens the neural pathways that make growth and perseverance possible. In children, encouragement is not a luxury, it's a lifeline. Studies in developmental psychology consistently show that encouragement fosters a growth mindset. When children are encouraged for their effort rather than their outcomes, they become more resilient, more curious, and more willing to try again. Statements like, "I can see how hard you're trying," or "you found a different way to solve it," tell the child they are capable, valuable, and safe. Over time, these affirmations become internalized, becoming part of the child's self-talk and self-image. Adults need encouragement just as much, though many receive it far less. In the modern workplace, in marriages, in friendships, there is a drought of encouragement. People often operate in a state of silent struggle, hoping someone notices their effort or pain. A kind word from a colleague, a thank you from a spouse, a "you're doing great" from a friend. These small offerings are seeds of life. Without them, burnout thrives. With them, purpose is reignited. Spiritual traditions across the world recognize the importance of encouragement, but few express it as clearly as the Christian tradition. In the scriptures, encouragement is seen as a holy duty. It's not optional, it's a call. The Apostle Paul, in his letters, frequently exhorts the early Christian communities to encourage one another and build each other up. The biblical figure Barnabas, whose name literally means son of encouragement, is remembered for standing by people when others doubted them. His gift was not dazzling speech or great miracles. It was presence and belief. He encouraged Paul when the early Christians were still afraid of him. He encouraged John Mark after a failure. His impact echoes still. Jesus himself modeled encouragement. To the woman at the well, he offered dignity. To the hemorrhaging woman, he called her daughter. To the paralyzed man lowered through the roof, he said, "Take heart." These were not compliments. They were reminders of value, identity, and belovedness. They were oxygen to souls gasping for air. Encouragement can take many forms. It may come through words, spoken or written, a letter left on a desk, a text sent at midnight, a whispered "you've got this." But it can also come through actions. The presence of someone who stays when it's inconvenient, a hand on the shoulder, a meal cooked without asking. These silent acts speak volumes. There's also symbolic encouragement, the gift, the gesture, the token. A small item that says, "I was thinking of you," a book passed along, a flower picked on a walk. These physical manifestations of encouragement linger longer than their moment. They remind the recipient again and again, "You matter to me." Sometimes encouragement is passive, and sometimes it is fierce. In a crisis, encouragement becomes a lifeline. It's not fluffy, it's vital. When someone is grieving, failing, breaking, or doubting their worth, encouragement is the rope that keeps them from slipping into the abyss. It may be a stranger's smile, a counselor's consistent presence, or a prayer whispered in the dark. but it can be enough to remind a person that the valley isn't the end of the road. There is also self-encouragement, the often overlooked practice of speaking life into one's own soul. King David in the Psalms says, "Why are you downcast, O my soul? Hope in God." That is self-encouragement. It is the discipline of not abandoning yourself in your pain. Journaling affirmations, speaking scripture aloud, or recalling past victories are all ways people encourage themselves when no one else is present. Encouragement is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging the struggle while affirming the strength. It doesn't bypass pain. It walks with someone through it. That's why it's so powerful. It says, "I see the pain, and I also see your courage." Encouragement builds culture. Whether in classrooms, boardrooms, churches, or homes, it creates a climate of safety and strength. When leaders encourage their teams, loyalty and innovation increase. When parents encourage their children, identity is secured. When friends encourage one another, trust deepens. Encouragement is contagious. One act of encouragement can ripple out farther than we can see. A teacher affirms a student who grows up to become a leader who uplifts a generation. A nurse encourages a patient who finds new resolve to heal and later becomes a nurse herself. A stranger smiles at someone who decides to keep living. These stories may never make it into history books, but they are the quiet revolutions that hold the world together. It's also worth noting what encouragement is not. It is not manipulation. It is not dishonest praise or sugarcoating. Encouragement does not flatter to gain favor. It doesn't enable destructive behavior or ignore accountability. True encouragement is grounded in truth and directed toward good. It sees the best version of a person and calls it forward, not for selfish gain, but for their own freedom and flourishing. There are people who withhold encouragement, sometimes out of envy, sometimes out of distraction. The silence of others can be its own form of pain. Many carry wounds not just from what was said to them, but from what was never said. The father who never said, "I'm proud of you." The teacher who never acknowledged effort. The friend who never said, "I'm glad you're here." These absences hurt. They create vacancies in the soul. That's why it's important to be intentional, to look up, to speak, to send the message. You don't have to wait for someone to be in crisis. Encouragement is needed every day, like sunlight and water. A message of affirmation on an ordinary Tuesday may mean more than a grand gesture after disaster. Encouragement doesn't need to be poetic. It doesn't have to be long. Even something as simple as, "I see how hard you're trying," or "I really admire how you handled that," can penetrate layers of self-doubt and insecurity. In a digital world, encouragement can travel across borders and time zones. A comment left on a video, a review of a small business, a post that uplifts instead of criticizes. These small actions cost nothing, but can mean everything. In personal relationships, encouragement becomes a spiritual act. To love someone is to encourage them toward the fullness of who they are meant to be. To see not just who they are now, but who they are becoming. To name their goodness when they can't see it for themselves. If you want to transform your environment, your family, your school, your church, your workplace, begin with encouragement. Not forced or artificial, but thoughtful, specific, and sincere. Watch what grows. Watch how people stand taller, how they try again, how they begin to believe. Encouragement is not the opposite of critique. It's the foundation that allows critique to be heard. When someone knows you are for them, not against them, they are more open to feedback. Encouragement builds trust, which is the bridge across which truth can travel. One of the most profound things you can do in your life is to be an encourager. You don't need a degree or a platform. You just need eyes to see and a heart to speak. Every day presents a new opportunity to encourage, to say you can, you are, or even just I'm here. The world is weary, discouragement is everywhere, but so is the chance to be a voice of hope, to be the one who says, I see you, I believe in you, don't give up. That one word spoken with love can echo far beyond what you'll ever know. It may change someone else, and in the process, it will change you too.